Hey guys, welcome to this channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at power interest grid stakeholder analysis, specifically for product management with an example. If I talk about the tool per se, it's specifically used to identify stakeholder, determine the level of influence they may have on your product. The idea obviously being that when you're building the project or a product itself, you need to know the parties that will influence your development either in a good or a bad way. And obviously the stakeholders which you need to keep happy in order to ensure the success of that project. Now, before I jump into the video, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to the channel for the best product management content. I'm very active across YouTube and Instagram. So if you have any questions, either drop me a comment here or drop me a message on Instagram and I'll actively write back. Now, in order to create the power interest grid itself, you first need to identify the important set of stakeholders involved in your project or a product. This can include your employees, investors, partners, etc. etc. Next, create like a 2x2 grid where y-axis could be the influence and the x-axis could be the stakeholders that have high amount of influence and interest are the stakeholders that are very important or are key players for your project and should be given the highest amount of satisfaction when building the product or a project. On the other side, players with low amount of influence and low amount of are to be non-players, and you shouldn't invest a lot of time on these non-players or stakeholders. Now you look at the players that have low influence and high interest. These are to be the manageable stakeholders, and depending on the scenario, they may require more or little attention when building a product or a project. Once you have all of these stakeholders, you place them on the grid itself that we've created. And you can see the example here. And depending on the kind of stakeholders they are, you need to ensure that the communication reaches these stakeholders per se. Now let's take an example. Suppose a company is building a new mobile and needs to identify key stakeholders to develop a plan of sorts. Now a product manager will create a power interest grid for this. And like I said, you first need to identify all the stakeholders in the product or a project. So the first one is customers who are actually the users of the app and will have high interest in its success. Then you talk about investors who've given you funding and hence funded the overall development, which is why they have higher level of influence on your. Then there are who will develop the app and ensure that the app succeeds. So they have high level of interest in its success. Then we talk about partners who are not specifically from your company, but are third party that are helping you develop the app. They have high level of influence on your success. Then you talk about competitors. They have a low interest in the app, but have a high level of influence on its success. Now, since the stakeholders have been identified, you'll place each of these on the 2x2 matrix, and I've shown the example here. Now, based on the grid itself, the key stakeholders would obviously be customers, investors, and partners. These are the stakeholders that are very important for the success of the app or a product and hence need to be regularly updated on the status of the app first. The competitors, on the other hand, you don't really need to worry about a lot, but you still need to keep an eye out on what's happening in their app because they have a higher level of influence on your success. You can see by finding the key stakeholders, the type of interaction you need to do with each of these stakeholders becomes very straightforward, and hence this tool is like super important when you think about it, even from the back of the mind perspective. And I hope this video was able to deliver the value that I expected it would deliver. If yes, consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.